Nate from Al and the Bull, and we're talking today about what it is that children do to us, because they know the tiny little chinks in our armour that are our weaknesses. They know how to get in between the smallest cracks. It's innately built into them. They know exactly how to do it, and they're not doing it deliberately. I don't believe that children are deliberately manipulative, especially at a young age. I've got friends who will call their child manipulative, and it's like 2 years old. That's not manipulation, that's being a human being. We're all manipulating all the time, trying to get what we want in order to be safe. The idea that someone's being deliberately manipulative at like 0 to 6, 7, 8 years old. Well, of course they are. You're doing exactly the same thing. You're trying to manipulate the world around you in order to get what you want. But the thing that kids know how to do is exposing things that trigger you. If you think about the most perfect families that you perhaps know, maybe you've got a circle of other parents around you and you're looking at their children and things look perfect. Things aren't perfect. Things will never be perfect. People might have good relationships with their kids. If there's a certain amount of self-awareness there in that parent, they've done a lot of work trying to come to terms with how their child affects them. The interesting thing about human psychology is that we tend to attract people and the situations that expose our weaknesses in life. They expose the things that we get triggered by. And it's an interesting situation with children, especially our own children, due to the way that we raise them and their genetic code from us and our partner, life experiences, so perhaps your parents and your in-laws, extended family, the friends that you keep around you, they're exposed to a certain strata of experience that sits in between here. So if we think about the entirety of human experience, it's going to be far bigger than this room, because there's so many experiences that could possibly happen. But what do we expose them to? We give them like this little box of experience that we are familiar with. Within this box contains things like the way that we parent, our beliefs, the very subtle ways that we use language around our children, the very subtle ways that we use language with ourselves. Our children hear the way that we talk to ourselves. Contained within this strata is the way that we interact with our partner and the way that we interact with the world at large, whether we feel safe or not. Our kids are really good at picking up on all that stuff. They see all the information that's contained in this little box. But if you haven't worked out how to solve the problems in this box, then these children are pretty unlikely to solve it early on. They need an adult's idea of abstraction and healing in order to move past the problems that they encounter along the way. But what that means is that we've given them this strata of experience that's comfortable and familiar to us, and along with that experience comes all the problems and situations that we run into, and they react to those things in a very similar way to the way that we do, or perhaps they are diametrically opposed. They react in the exact opposite way. Both of those ways of reacting to the world can deeply, deeply trigger us. My sons have tantrums in different ways. When they're really upset, one of my sons likes company. He'll throw a tantrum and it'll be huge, but then he wants to be close while he's upset. The other one is like, I need you to go away. I need to be alone, and I'm just going to scream the house down. That particular experience is very triggering for me. When someone tells me to go away and they're only a little person, I take that as a personal insult. Huge ego blow. I'm like, you cannot fucking talk to me like that in my own house. Of course, I'm not swearing to my kids, but that's the way I feel inside. It makes me so angry. Well, it used to. I've moved along with this particular situation. So after lots of deep thinking about this particular problem, I realised, well, this comes from my own experience. My own experience is being a child. If I ever talk to my parents that way, I'm getting a backhand, I'm getting a slap, I'm getting screamed at. How dare I talk to my parents that way? Really triggered them, right? So they've got an ancestral trigger where there's this idea of insolence, a small child talking however they want to an adult. When you move out of the strata of experience that we're talking about, just over here, we find that insolence is not anything rude. It's the ability to tell people what you want and what you need. Really important skill for everyone. To be able to not just take what the world is giving you, but the ability to actually speak up for your needs. That is a fundamental skill, and it's a skill that many people don't have. We've got my son who's triggering me badly, and I get to step out of the situation and I see that's something from my own childhood. And it's something from my parents' childhood, and it probably goes back. Our children are exposing something that we can do better at because we're just reacting, coming back at the world without even thinking what's happening. This is an emotional response. We're getting fire alarms in our brain that bypass the cerebral, rational parts of the brain, bypasses that. Shunk, it's just coming straight down to the reptile brain, setting off alarms. We're in trouble. This is an emotional response. This kid is fucking with me. We need to be able to step back and have a look at the big picture. That's going to be hard. I still struggle with it every day. But the more you become aware of it, the better you're able to see that big picture, take steps to be able to see that you're being triggered,